Namaskar.
Namaskaram. Krishna, Krishna.
Namaskaram. Hello.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Kind request, the ladies, please don't mind. So that, yeah, just for the sake of Srimad Ramayana. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Namaskar, Raja.
Namaskar. Namaskar. Yeah, we'll get it started now. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.
You have a new book, right?
Shishinam Sri Krishna Tatatmajam Sri Shailanve Devanath Sudhiya Praptagaman Tadvayam Padarche Narsimhatate Guroho Nyastatma Raksha Bharam Vittadvrunda Chakora Maham Sri Ramanujaryam Shraye Sri Ranga Sudha Madhu Samaswadayantam Sri Ranga Mahishi Padapankajatmajam Sulabhashrayam Sada Moda Siddham Adbhutam Bhajeham Gurum Tam Ranganatha Priyam Sukhasanastham Hridayabjapithe Chinmudrayalankrita Pani Padmam Shubho Pavitam Vimalodhvapundram Namami Rangam Gurum Antarenge Namami Yoga Samrajñim Vijayam Vijayapradam Srirangardha Sanasinam Karunam Mataram Guru Rupa Paranjyotihi Jyoti Rupa Guru Paraha Ajnana Mandiram Hyetate Guru Vijnana Mandiram Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhaite Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Yo Antah Pravishya Mama Vachamimam Prasuptam Sanjeevayatyakila Shakti Dhara Sudhamna Nyamscha Hasta Charana Shravanatvagadine Pranan Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullara Vindayata Patra Netra Yenatvaya Bharataila Purnaha Prajwalito Jnanamaya Padipaha Om Jayatyashita Santrasa Dhvanta Vidvamsanodaya Prabhavan Sitaya Devya Paramavyoma Bhaskaraha Sakradeva Prapannaya Tavasmi Tachayachate Abhayam Sarvabhutebhyaha Dadamyetadvratam Mama. Jai Hanuman. Jai Shri Ram. So the reason to continue the discussion on the foundations of Srimad Ramayanam is the fact that any subject or topic that we want to pursue seriously, there needs to be a motivation. And motivation comes in different forms, either through the subject matter, which is Srimad Ramayanam or Sundara Kandam, through the person who has written it, like Sri Valmiki Maharshi himself, or due to our own personal circumstances. We are either inquisitive, artho, jignasur artharthi, jnani cha bharatarshava, Sri Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. We probably have some afflictions. We want to get rid of those afflictions. Or we want to acquire artha or wealth. Right? Ella vidamana sampatna varanam abdin solli virpapadram. Or jignasu, we are curious. I want to know something new. Or I want to be a jnani. So there are many different reasons why we would like to study. So some of you may already be familiar with all of this, but for the purpose of the wider set of people who probably may be hearing this for the first time, it is important to understand the motivation. So let's think of an analogy. Let's say somebody has described a coconut tree in all its glory. And let's say the person who has written it is a great botanist. Now, the botanist would have described the tree starting from what is its species, what are the various genes associated with that species, where is it grown, and when it grows, what are its various components, right? What are the conditions for it to grow? And finally, the botanist would also definitely specify how the species can propagate itself. And let's say somebody hands you a document describing this coconut tree to you. The first question is, what is its relation to me? The botanist, out of his curiosity, right? Our value research funding, he has applied for funding with some research organization. They funded it, so he has written it. What is in it for me? So somebody would start marketing the tree. It becomes a viral thing on all social media. So naturally you get the curiosity. Let me also look at what the tree is about, right? And you will probably look at it. Let's say you are a random reader, right? What will happen is, the very first time you look at it, you may get bored. What is all this about? After all, he's talking about a coconut tree. Let me worry about the fruit of this tree, right? I can taste the fruit of this tree, which is, let's say, the kernel. I will use it for my day-to-day cooking. Let me end the job there. I don't need to really worry about what this tree is about, where is it grown, etc. So some people may be interested in the, let's say, the bark of the tree. Some people may be interested in the, perhaps the shade that you may get from hundreds of coconut trees. Now, unfortunately, it may not give as big a shade as a banyan tree. So therefore, every one of us will have a particular motivation to understand or know about this tree. Incidentally, this tree is also known as Kalpavriksham. If you look at the coconut tree, my guru used to say that it provides something for everybody. All parts of this tree are useful, right? Let's say, you want to look at how you want to use the coconut. Yeah, even the shell is useful. The shell can be used as a fuel. The kernel can be used. The coconut water with its amritamana taste, that also is useful. Finally, to get rid of all the dirt and dust in our home, even broomsticks, we probably may not see them today, right? But that is something that also is very useful. In a similar manner, but if you are interested in learning about the tree, the best way to get motivated is to look at what all is available in the tree? What aspects will interest me? What aspects will interest my progeny? My children also need to enjoy this coconut tree. This is a brilliant tree. It has everything in it. Therefore, you need to know how to grow this tree. What is the seed of this tree? Where is it grown? What are the conditions for this tree to grow, etc. Therefore, it is not only enough to know that there is a fruit of this tree which is useful. Somebody is blessing me, or is there a question already? But what will happen is you need to get into the details only if you are interested in propagating this tree. Yeah. And the tree enakkum venum, ennude generations ku naaku kavali, na kinda vache vallu andariki kavali. If that is the dimension or direction in which you are headed, then it's very important to understand the roots of this tree and the glory of this tree, so that there is nothing boring. You should not end up writing a paper and forgetting what the tree is about. So in that similar context, Srimad Ramayanam is like a kalpavruksham. As we were discussing in the last class, there is something in it for every one of us. And there is everything for you as an individual. If only you are ready to go for the trek. Here there is something known as the Duke of Edinburgh Award in the UK, where kids are trained to trek. And you get interested in the trek if you know what it is about. In a similar manner, we first try to understand Srimad Ramayanam. Sri Sundara Kandam is part of Srimad Ramayanam. And therefore, it's important for us to know about the hero of the story. And in that context, I am not going to go through all the slokas in Sri Balakandam. That is where I'm going through the slokas. I will take some slokas which are of relevance. So those of you who want to refer, you may look at Balakandam, which is where there is the first dialogue between sage Narada and sage Valmiki. So you will see that Narada Maharshi is an integral part of all the Puranas. It doesn't matter which yuga you are in, he is there all through. And he is a Nityasuri. He is basically a replica of the Lord himself. And his duty is to, first of all, in this context, make sage Valmiki understand who Sri Rama is. And through that, we also get to know who Sri Rama is. So we were, I think, in sloka number 14. Rakshita swasya dharmasya swajanasya cha rakshita veda vedanga tattvajnaha dhanurvedecha nishtitaha. Sloka number 14 in Sri Balakandam. And what this sloka basically means is swasya dharmasya rakshita. He protects his own dharma. It is important that in order to propagate dharma, we have to first adopt or follow dharma ourselves, realize its fruits. Then it gives us a certain qualification. Then, by the Lord's grace, it is possible to propagate dharma. In this context, he is a Rakshita Swasya Dharmasya. Swajanasya cha Rakshita. He protects his people. Veda Vedanga Tattvajnaha Dhanurvedecha Nishtitaha. So he is a knower of the true meaning of the Vedas. Vedathanude tattvatha nanna arinjaru. Vedamulo ఏ తత్వం ఉంటుందో దాన్ని చక్కగా అర్థం చేసుకున్న వాళ్ళు. Tattvam means the reality, the true meaning of what Vedas are. And there is a word here called Vedanga. So Vedangas are nothing but, if you consider the Veda as the soul, the body of the Vedas are the Vedangas. Angam means what comes along with the Vedas. And what are they? They are primarily 6 in number: Siksha, Chandas, Vyakaranam, Niruktam, Kalpam, and Jyotisham. These are the 6 angas of the Vedas. Okay. So this is the person who we are talking about. He not only knows the tattvas hidden in the Vedas, of course, he is a Veda Swarupa himself, but he knows the Vedangas. So what are the Vedangas? First is Siksha. You will see how evolved our culture was, what we have contributed to many domains. Here we are talking about the, in some sense, you can look at it from many dimensions. Of course, there is a caveat here. When we try to translate from the original spirit, many times we end up murdering the spirit, and English probably is one such medium. So any words or sentences that we speak here, which you feel that it is not in resonance with the original Sanskrit, right? Please pardon me and pardon English. It is just a means of communication here. இதனுடைய உண்மையான சொரூபம் தமிழிலும் சொல்ல முடியாது, தெலுங்குலயும் చెప్పరాదు. This is to be understood if you know Sanskrit itself directly. So Siksha is that part of the Vedanga which talks about phonology. Okay, how do you pronounce different words, and it's quite an evolved shastra on its own. Then Chandas talks about the meters. There are different meters. Gayatri is supposed to be one such meter. Anushtup Chandas, Trishtup Chandas, etc. And of course, we are not going to go into Vedangas. Okay? This is not supposed to be a primer on all of that. It is good to know what it basically is. Vedanga Tattvajnaha அப்படின்னு சொல்லிண்டே போவோம். But what is the meaning of Vedanga அப்படின்னா கொஞ்சம் ஒரு high level தெரிஞ்சுக்கிறதுக்காக சொல்றேன். It is just meant to initiate you into what these different things are. Chandas is all about the meters. Every kavyam that you look at, every poem you look at has a meter associated with it. Half meter, 1.5 meters, 2 meters. No. Here, Chandas actually means the poem has a particular way of, flowing. And that is what is known as Chandas. And so, you might have looked at different great poets, including Adi Shankara, Sri Vedanta Deshika, and various other acharyas. They all construct poems. Some poems are very short, like in Anushtup Chandas. Some are very long. But, if you look at the meter of that slokam, the Chandas, it has a certain associated quality with it. So if you get accustomed to that particular Chandas, finally it will result in you attaining what the creator of that poem wanted you to understand about. That is Chandas. So Srimad Ramayanam is Anushtup Chandas. Then Vyakaranam is about grammar, the grammar of a language, right? Then Niruktam talks about etymology. What are different words and how do you understand the meanings of different words? And here, Niruktam itself is a huge text of its own, and it is meant to, decipher what the Vedas themselves are. So the meaning of the Vedas are essentially available in a text called Niruktam. And remember, each of these are basically a science or a shastra of its own. There are gurus who have established, rishis, maharshis who have established each of these, and there are commentaries and commentaries on each of these. Okay, it's an ocean of its own. While Vedas themselves are an ocean, think of these. These are all, mini oceans in that big ocean. So Niruktam abdin sonaka, what is the meaning of each sentence in the Vedas and how do you interpret them? And Kalpam is another Vedangam. Kalpam is all about rituals. How do you perform the various yagas? How do you construct the Vedikai for each yagam? Who are supposed to be the Yajamanas? What is the Sankalpam for the yaga? And so on and so on. And lastly, Jyotisham. This is something related to the planetary alignments and how it impacts individuals, places, kings, rulers, and so on and so forth. Many of us are proficient in Jyotisham. I don't want to go into the details of Jyotisham. We should remember that there is nothing superstitious about Jyotisham. It is a science. And that's the reason why it is also part of Vedanga. So Vedanga Tattvajnaha.
One question, Muthu here. No, Matta Anju is basically to understand Vedic. You need to have those 5. You need to know how to pronounce, understand the meaning, understand the grammar, the chandas you talked about. But Jyotisham is an odd man out in that. What's the relation between understanding of Jyotisham and learning Vedas? Any thoughts there?
Correct. So when we look at Jyotish Shastram, the easiest entry to Jyotisham is Panchanga, where we look at Tithi, Vara, Nakshatram, Karanam, Yogam. And that is something that each one of us is supposed to know every day. And these have an impact on our physical, mental, and spiritual constitution. And that is the reason why we chant Vedas on specific days. We are not supposed to chant on some days. So therefore, on certain days, for example, Pradosham, in fact, yesterday and today is actually a great day. There's a confluence of too many things happening today. The Vaigasi Masam is born. Today is also Narsimha Jayanti for Vaishnavas. Yesterday was the Narsimha Jayanti for Smartas and other Sampradayams. Today also there is going to be a lunar eclipse. Now, how do these phenomena affect me? What is the relation between planetary alignment? Again, something happening in nature has a kind of connection with our own physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. So we should at least be aware of that. For example, when there is a lunar eclipse going to happen today, we should not test the science on that day by saying, I will eat during lunar eclipse, as if you don't have any other time to eat, right? But you should understand what will happen if I were to eat something during the eclipse time. It will have an impact on our body. And this is a scientifically established principle. Only that, it is to be understood in camera, in secret, between a guru and a shishya. There is a way to understand how it impacts our body. Likewise, Vedas are not merely syllables, words and sentences. They are also the outcome of an internal experience. And that experience is immensely correlated with the planetary alignments and physical phenomena. So therefore, if you are a true Vedavid, you are also supposed to know Jyotish Shastra. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
So Vedanga Tattvajnaha Dhanur Vedecha Nishtitaha. In fact, each Veda, like Rigvedam, Yajurvedam, Samavedam, and Atharvavedam, also has an offshoot. Okay. So Samavedathnuடைய offshoot da Gandharva Vedam. The science of music actually comes from Samavedam. And the offshoot of Yajurvedam is Dhanurvedam. And Sri Ramachandra is like the Vedamurti for Yajurvedam number vechikalam. And he obviously is a Pandita or a master of Dhanurvedam. Dhanurvedam is how do you hold the bow and arrow. In general, the warfare, anything associated with conquering enemies. And he is a Pandita in that. He is a Nishnata Purusha in Dhanurveda. Sarva Shastrartha Tattvajnaha Smritiman Pratibhanavan Sarvaloka Priyaha Sadhu Adinatma Vichakshanaha. So likewise, continuing, sage Narada is describing. Sorry, thinking me after mute. Sarva Shastrartha Tattvajnaha. While Sri Ramachandra is also a Vedanga Tattvajnaha, he also knows all the scriptures, all Shastras. 64 கலைகள் இருக்கு இல்லையா? எப்படி கிருஷ்ணருக்கு 64 கலைகளும் தெரியுமோ அதே மாதிரி ஸ்ரீ ராமச்சந்திரமூர்த்திக்கும் 64 కలயும் தெரியும். 64 కళలు ఏమిటుంటాయో వాటన్నిటిని చక్కగా అనుసంధానం చేసిన వాళ్ళు శ్రీ రామచంద్రమూర్తి. సర్వశాస్త్రార్థ తత్వజ్ఞః స్మృతిమాన్ ప్రతిభానవాన్. ஸ்மிருதிமான் அப்படின்னாக்கா ஒன் ஹூ ஹேஸ் எ எக்ஸ்ட்ராடினரி மெமரி. ஸ்மிருதி அப்படிங்கிறது ரொம்ப நன்னா இருக்கும். எப்படின்னாக்கா நீங்க பார்த்திருப்பேன், ஆல் கிரேட் பீப்புள் தே டு நாட் ஃபர்கெட் வாட் தே see, what they observe, what they hear through their senses. And that doesn't mean we should become a master of by hearting. This comes naturally to them. And what may be the reason for that is very simple, because they are always in resonance with the universal spirit, and the whole world is nothing but the expression of that spirit. So therefore they need not exert themselves to know, to understand, to remember things. So that's the reason why they are Smritiman. And Smriti is not just associated with the phenomenal world, that which we see with our senses and experience, but it also relates to our previous inborn natural state. Where did I come from? Who am I? அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு இன்வர்ட் ஜர்னிக்கும் they know exactly the memory. இப்போ நம்மள who am I அப்படின்னு கேட்டா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் நேம், லாஸ்ட் நேம், மிடில் நேம் அதே இங்க கொலை பண்ணிடுறான். அது வேற விஷயம். The moment you cross the shores, you lose your name completely. Then we say, I am the son and daughter of so and so. So, well, who are they? Your parents? They are the son and daughter of so and so. But ultimately, if you were to question, who are you? You are not merely this body. You are something beyond this body. You have mind and intellect. Beyond the mind and intellect, there is something that has to be experienced by each one of us. And that is our innate nature. And he is somebody who is endowed with such an immense memory. He actually knows from which lokam he came down from. So Smritiman, he has come down from Sri Vaikuntha lokam. And then Pratibhanavan. So he is somebody who is extraordinarily talented. Pratibha Sampannaha means any of these 64 arts that he chooses to learn, he will be an immediate master. He doesn't need much time to know what it is and become a master of it. And the pratibha is something that comes innately to such people. Sarva Lokapriyaha, he is so dear to the entire humanity. Sarva Lokamna ellarkum nechikalam. He is beloved to everybody. So if you were to look at, some of you may have already gone through Srimad Ramayanam, and the whole town of Ayodhya, their love for Sri Rama when he leaves to the forest is something we all know. So he is a Sarvaloka Priyaha. Sadhuhu, he is somebody who is very pious, well disposed, courteous, and so on. But Sadhu means he is Sattva-guna Sampannaha. In this case, it is Shuddha Sattva-guna Sampannaha. That person is known as a Sadhu. Only if you are a Sadhu, you can protect other Sadhus. You will know what are the troubles undergone by other Sadhus. You cannot be a mere king and protect Sadhus. You need to be a Sadhu yourself. At the same time, have all the Pratibha, Dhanurvedhanishta, etc., so that you can protect other Sadhus. Adinatma. Adinatma means he is not a Dina Purusha, which means he will not have a perturbed mind, come what may. Okay, and the chalanam abdingarada avarude manasla kadiyadu. He is somebody who is very firm in his resolution, and he is not disturbed by any emotions that happen around him. That is something we would have seen throughout Srimad Ramayana, right? So he is given the throne overnight due to Kaikeyi. His father says, "I'm sorry, you have to leave Ayodhya." He does not have even a moment of chalanam. It is my father's Agni. There is nothing else to think about there, right? Now, such a feeling, when will somebody have that feeling? You have to reflect on this. It is not again something which we go to 101 course on how to be a Adhinatma. You go to Coursera, Udemy, download the course. No, this is something that can come to you only if you have mastered your senses, mastered your mind, and you know who you are in reality. Only then you can be an Adhinatma. And Vichakshanaha is somebody who has extraordinary discrimination capabilities, and he will know when to do the things in what manner, and he is very good at planning and execution. So that is the meaning of Vichakshanaha. He knows. Chakshun அங்க இருக்கு இல்லையா, சக்ஷுனா கண்கள், நல்ல கண்களுடையவர் அப்படின்னு சொல்லலாம். எப்படி அப்படின்னா, இட்ஸ் நாட் ஜஸ்ட் தி எக்ஸ்டர்னல் ஐஸ். He can foresee what is going to happen. He can diagnose what happened, which has resulted in the state now, right? Therefore, he is somebody who is very good at execution, planning and execution. So, Vichakshanaha. Next, sloka number 16 of Sri Balakandam. Sarvada abhigataha sadbhihi samudraiva sindubhihi aryaha sarva samaschaiva sadaika priyadarshanaha. Sarvada abhigataha sadbhihi. He is somebody, sarvada means every time, all the while. He is abhigataha, he is very approachable. By whom? Abdina sadbhihi, those who are righteous themselves, those who are satpurushas themselves. Yeah. And the analogy that the sage is giving, samudraiva sindhubhihi, just like how the rivers approach samudram, you see how welcoming the ocean is, however turbulent. So some rivers like the Ganges, they dance all the way from Himalayas and then they merge into the ocean. Other rivers like Narmada are very calm, okay, and they approach the ocean. The ocean doesn't mind what is the nature of the river, right? As long as it has water in it. Of course, today, hopefully we don't have polluted water. As long as the water, it is made of water, basically. It's of the same nature. That is why Sri Ramachandramurti is a Satpurusha. He is approachable by other Satpurushas. What a beautiful analogy here. Samudraiva Sindhubhi. And Aryaha, he is an Arya Purusha. What does that mean? He is somebody who came down from Western Europe, conquered the land of the Dravidas, therefore he is an Arya Purusha. No. Aryaha is quite an intense and deep word here. The broad description is he is a man of virtue, man of righteousness. But Aryaha is somebody who understands the Rishi Sampradayam, right? He knows exactly what it is to lead a true, wholesome life, and in turn make others follow that kind of life. Such a person is an Arya Purusha. He will do only things which are truly adorable by everybody. There will be no exception, right? There are so many instances you will see in Srimad Ramayanam where his own adversaries will be put to shame. இவரை போய் நம்ம தப்பு பண்ணிட்டோமே அப்படின்னு தோன்றதுக்கு உண்டான ஒரு தகுதி. That is, the others, his own enemies, will think, why did I commit this mistake to Sri Rama, even though you may be not a Satpurusha. Such is the virtue that this person holds. Only then you can actually call yourself as an Arya and the descendant of this great race. It is not a physical thing. It is not something which is related to genealogy, but it is all related to your own Sat Vastu. What it is that you relate to your to the world, to the principle that is sustaining this world, right? So that is known as an Arya Purusha, an Arya Swabhavam. If that is not there, then that is not called as an Arya. So it is many times we confuse between the physical, geological, geophysical aspects of this word and what it actually originally meant. In fact, Sanatana Arya Bharatam also was called as Aryavartam, where it was full of people who understood the true meaning of life, how to lead this life, right? That which helps in your in the current life as well as hereafter, what happens after we drop down our bodies. Sarva Samaha is somebody who is equally disposed to all his people. Abdinartham. What does that mean? So he is somebody Phalavitarana Daksham Pakshapata Anabhignyam, as Acharya Vedanta Deshika says, right? It comes in Dayashatakam. So the Lord knows how to distribute the fruits to his devotees. And he knows exactly how to be equitable. So equitable doesn't mean I give you 2 apples, I give another person also 2 apples. You exactly know what is it that will benefit each one of you. What is your state? What will help you to improve from state X to a better state? And he will adopt that principle. Sadaika Priyadarshanaha. He is somebody who is always good looking, right? Priyadarshana, that means he will have beauty salon all over his palace, right? He will always have a resident, beautician who is going to help him to look beautifully. So Priyadarshanaha means it's not, it's okay. He is actually good looking, but that good looking is Sadaika, meaning it is every time, and it is the same thing. Adedan, ekamna adedan, same thing. That the face, if you look on day 1, you come back on day 100, it will be the same face, but it's a Priyadarshana. If you look at it, you will get a sense of happiness. Now again, when is this really possible? Only when somebody has actually taken care of his body, mind and spirit, all 3. So only such a person is qualified to be called as Sadaika Priyadarshanaha. If we were to describe each of these golden qualities, we will all get enticed to go and search for Sri Rama. Very easy, very easy. Yeah. That is the job of a rishi. And if we understand it properly, we don't have to go and fight with somebody to reclaim certain things. Sri Rama is inside each one of us. And he will be available for discussions. Okay. Sadaika Priyadarshanaha. The next sloka, we'll just have 2 more slokas, and then that will conclude the great gunas of Sri Rama. Sacha sarva gunopetaha kausalyanandavardhanaha samudraiva gambhirye dhairyena himavaniva. So like this, he is somebody who is sarva gunopetaha. He has so many beautiful, auspicious qualities and attributes, and therefore he is kausalyanandavardhanaha. He is somebody who instantly creates anandam for Kausalya. Who is Kausalya? Amma, the mother of Sri Ramachandra Murthy, Dasharatha's wife, right? First wife, Kausalya. Imagine, just like how Devaki Paramanandam, Krishnam Mande Jagadguru. அந்த தாய்க்கு தன் பிள்ளையை பார்த்தா எப்பவுமே సంతోషం. ఎప్పుడు తల్లి తన పుత్రునో పుత్రినో చూస్తారో వాళ్ళకి సంతోషం అనేది సహజంగా వస్తుంది. So what is big deal here? Every mother has a great affinity to their children. The key here is Kausalya Ananda Vardhana, which means your state of happiness. Sometimes இது போய் நம்மளுக்கு பறந்துருத்தே அப்படின்னு தோணும் இல்லையா? We may have seen instances where, for example, if somebody is born as Ravana to us, what kind of a son have I got? Or if you have somebody who is good in qualities, what a great son or daughter I have. But here, whenever Kausalya sees Sri Rama, her Ananda increases many times. So that is the nature of a great Avatara Purusha. That it's not just a relation between a mother and her son. It is a relation between the Jivatma and the Paramatma. So such a great divine association happens only when the other person is an Avatara Purusha. The happiness, many times it will remain the same or it will diminish for us with our children. But here, the happiness will always be in an exponential curve. Samudraiva Gambhirye. So he is somebody who is like Samudra or the ocean in Gambhiram. Gambhiram means what? Serious. Gambhiram. Ana Gambhiram abdinaka, it's not just a physical thing. He's somebody who is very, very deep in his thoughts, deep in the way that person responds to things. Before speaking, he will think 100 times and then only take an action. So that is what is known as true Gambhiram. It's not just, being wearing suit coat and going to places and saying, Gambhirama or Arpa. No. Gambhiram is again an extremely internal quality of the individual. Dhairyena Himavaniva. He is somebody who is like Himalayas in his dhairyam. Dhairyam means fortitude, the way he uses his courage. Yes, so that is the thing. Then sloka number 18 will conclude with that. Vishnuna sadrisho virye somavat priyadarshanaha kalagni sadrishaha krodhe kshamaya prithvi samaha. So Vishnuna sadrishaha virye. So this is one hint, one place where Sri Rama is equal to Mahavishnu. That algebraic equation is framed in Srimad Ramayanam by sage Narada in this slokam. This is one of the rare slokas where he is told as an Avatara Purusha. He is Vishnuna sadrishaha virye. Viryatla, in courage, he is like Vishnu. Somavate priyadarshanaha. He is like moon. Somamna moon nartham. Priyadarshana. He is as good looking as a full moon. Inniki eclipse unduduthu. But normally on a full moon day, we all like to see the full moon. Here they give a name to the full moon. Yeah, every full moon has a particular name associated with it, and it's in general very good to look at as long as you are millions of miles away. Moon kitta poitaga adu vera mari irukum, adu vera vishayam. Ana inga Somavat priyadarshanaha. He is somebody who is good looking as a moon. Kalagni sadrishaha krodhe. He is somebody, when he gets angry, he is equivalent to Rudra himself. Basically, the hidden meaning here, actually, Sri Ramachandra has all three. Soma is something which is also related to creation. Mind is related to creation. Yeah, he's a lunatic person. Mind pada poiduthu artham. So here he's talking of Mahavishnu. Creation is the act of Brahma and Kalagni is Rudra. So Sri Ramachandra Murthy is the representation of all the three people, right? Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara, all put in one. Kshamaya Prithvi Samaha. And not to forget his divine consort is Bhuma Devi, is Sita Piratiyar. Sita Devi is supposed to be an avataram of Bhuma Devi. So therefore, it is no surprise sage Narada is linking Kshamaya Prithvi Samaha in this sloka. Every sloka has a definite intent and purpose whenever a sage talks about an individual. So that is something we should bear in mind. So there's just one more slokam that will take up.
Just can you explain what is Shamaya Prithvi?
Kshamaya Prithvi Samaha. So is a Kshama abhinaka forbearance abhin sollaam. Whatever happens, if you look at the Mother Earth, right, whether you plant a tree or whether an atom bomb falls on the Mother Earth, she will patiently receive it, right? That is the nature of Mother Earth, unshaken in anything that happens with her, around her, on her, etc. And that is something which is the nature of Bhuma Devi, but that is also the nature of Sri Rama here, which means he had such an amount of forbearance, right? He had to tolerate so many things in his life, if you were to look at it. He had that kind of kshama, right? That he could also forget and forgive others, as well as withstand any kind of weather that happens in his life. So that is again a great Kalyana Gunam, Atma Gunam of great Purushas and Mahapurushas. So therefore, it's important to know who Sri Ramachandra Murthy is. We'll conclude our session here today. I may not have time to take any further questions today, but we'll take a look at it in the next session. Okay. Guru Charanam Bhuja Nirbhara Bhakta
Guru Charanam Bhuja Nirbhara Bhakta Samsara Chiradbhava Mukta Guru Charanam Bhuja Krishna Krishna Sendriya Manasa Niyamadevam Rakshasi Nijardaya Stam Devam Bhaja Govindam Bhaja Govindam Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate
Kayena vacha manasa indriyirva buddhya atmana va prakrite svabhavat karomi yadyat sakalam parasmai shriman narayana yeti samarpayami sarvam Sri Krishna arpanastu sarvam Sri Ramachandra arpanastu. Have a great day and a week ahead.